She wants us to believe this is actionable harassment, what we just witnessed there. She alleges that she's a Me Too victim there. That's absurd. I will happily participate in releasing any further leaks that they have. What does she have to fear if she's telling the truth?
Megyn Kelly just proved how Blake Lively's court case is damaging women everywhere. She exposed how real victims are now being called liars because Blake made deception look easy.
She is an egotistical bully. And she was such a brat that she wanted to control every scene, wanted to see all the dailies, wanted to do her own cut and did her own cut of the movie. All this is very unusual for just an actress in the film.
Blake showed the world how a woman can fake victimhood, twist the truth, and destroy a man's career. All for greed, power, and control. And women are paying the price.
This person is not an honest broker. I believe her less than ever. I actually disbelieve her fully now.
Megyn Kelly has been warning all of us, but is anyone listening? This isn't just a Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni problem. This is a full-blown crisis for every single woman who has ever fought to be believed. Because what happens when one rich, entitled Hollywood princess cries wolf? Every real survivor gets drowned out.
What appears to be the fact that she is an egotistical bully.
Blake threw every woman who has actually suffered harassment and abuse under there with him. And for what? Power, sympathy, control.
She accuses him of doing something, which then when you hear the full context, she said, he came in my trailer while I was breastfeeding. Well, then he produced the text messages showing her saying, I'm breastfeeding, come on over. She accused his producing partner of showing her pornography.
The evidence is right there, staring us all in the face. Texts, footage, witnesses, everything that contradicts Blake's little sob story. But she doesn't care. She didn't just use her fame to push lies. She weaponized the same system women have fought decades to build. Now, any woman who comes forward with a legitimate case will be met with, oh, are you just pulling a Blake Lively?
Where she filed her lawsuit against him, saying this is all retaliatory and asking the court to shut him and Brian Friedman up because they're trying to try this case in the media. The only reason this whole thing got started before she filed the lawsuit, she clearly cooperated with the New York Times to leak the whole thing.
The boy who cried wolf was a cautionary tale. But when it's a woman who cries wolf, the consequences are even worse. Women already struggle to be taken seriously. They already have to provide endless proof, endure cross-examinations, watch their attackers walk free. And Blake? She just handed every predator a get-out-of-jail-free card.
Her allegations have fallen apart, and her I was not really a bully, I was just targeted allegations have fallen apart. And now he's going full Johnny Depp on her to show that she was the bully. She was the one harassing him.
Because if one rich actress can fabricate a harassment story and still have half of Hollywood bending over backwards to defend her, what does that mean for the waitress who reports her boss? Or the intern who speaks up against the executive?
That even her own representatives knew that she was threatening and mean and tough and wanted to get her way.
Megyn Kelly isn't just calling this out for fun. She knows what happens when the perfect victim image collapses. Society already doubts victims enough. Now Blake just handed them another excuse to wave away real cases. She didn't just start a Hollywood feud. She torched the credibility of every woman who actually needs justice.
And then says, smells good. And she says, it's my body makeup. That's her big harassment moment.
Blake's lawsuit is a joke. And not even a funny one. She claimed Justin Baldoni harassed her, made her uncomfortable, crossed boundaries. But then her own text proved otherwise. What happened to the incriminating evidence? Oh right, there isn't any. Instead, we got flirty behind-the-scenes footage where she and Justin joke about their spouses.
She's completely flirtatious with him. He is flirtatious back, but they're talking about their spouses, and it's all in good fun.
Messages where she invites him into her trailer while breastfeeding, then later calls it harassment, and allegations that he caressed her neck in a dance scene. only for leaked footage to show them laughing and joking the entire time.
And this thing is getting even more bizarre. One of the key allegations in her complaint against Justin Baldoni, she writes, on another occasion, Mr. Baldoni and Ms. Lively were filming a slow dance scene for a montage in which Mr. Baldoni chose to let the camera roll and have them perform the scene, but did not act in character as Ryle. At one point, he leaned forward and slowly dragged his lips and down her neck. Mr. Baldoni was caressing Ms. Lively with his mouth. When Ms. Lively later objected to this behavior, Mr. Baldoni's response was, "I'm not even attracted to you."
So what's the actual harassment here? That Justin didn't fall for her manipulations? That he dared to stand his ground? Because the second he refused to let her run the show, she flipped the script, literally. And now, because of her, real survivors are going to pay the price.
Well, guess what? And you can hear Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni interacting as themselves. No such moment is shown. They're acting like lovers.
And my nose is so big.
That's her big harassment moment. They are playfully acting. She's completely flirtatious with him. He is flirtatious back, but they're talking about their spouses. She doesn't say, "Oh my God, you nuzzled me."
Megyn Kelly knows exactly what's happening. She's seen it before. And she's right. Every woman who speaks out now risks being met with skepticism. Because if someone as powerful as Blake Lively can manufacture a harassment claim and get away with it, how are people supposed to believe the next woman who steps forward?
And use threats and coercion and bullying to do it.
And let's be real, men are going to use this. You know they are. The next time a woman speaks up in the workplace, it's going to be, "Oh, we need proof. We don't want another Blake Lively situation." And that's exactly what Megyn is furious about. Because when women abuse the system for personal gain, the system stops working for those who actually need it.
Now she wants a complete gag order. Now he needs to be shut down to protect her. This is very unfair to poor Blake. Why should Justin be able to release snippets to the media without the full context? That's what she said.
Candace Owens called it too. Women fought so hard for the #MeToo movement, only for someone like Blake to waltz in and use it like her own personal bargaining chip. She's the reason men can now sit back and say, "See, women lie." And when that starts to happen, the entire movement collapses, and the only people left to suffer, the actual victims.
If she's the lead, and that she's now tried to turn this whole thing into a PR victory for her to get past what appears to be the fact that she is an egotistical bully.
Oh, but wait, it gets worse. Because this isn't just Blake hurting women, she recruited them. She built an entire army of Hollywood mean girls to cover for her and push her fabricated story. Colleen Hoover, Jenny Slate, Taylor Swift. PR agents who made sure the media only reported what Blake wanted them to. All of them played a part in shutting Justin out of his own film, his own project, while Blake pranced around like she was the only one who mattered.
And be like, that's not true. Stop supporting your friends when they're doing bad or harmful things. I think Jenny Slate, again, full opinion, full speculation, was that girl in the room who just wanted to support whatever Blake was saying. And she probably texted her and was like, "Me too. I felt weird and creepy too," or whatever.
Blake created an us versus them narrative, forcing women into a dangerous choice: support her blindly or be cast out. Colleen Hoover chose wrong. She posted a glowing tribute to Blake, calling her honest and kind. And then, the second the evidence came out, she scrubbed her Instagram, deleting every mention of Blake. Why? Because she knew she had backed a liar.
He even says we now have a concrete timeline, which we believe implicates Blake Lively. And come on. I was the psycho who put together the timeline. So I think they've been watching the show.
But the damage was already done. Women saw yet another example of how truth doesn't matter. Only power does. How in Hollywood, loyalty trumps accountability. And when that happens, the real victims get abandoned.
That's what she did. She alleges that she's a Me Too victim there. That's absurd. And I can tell you that as somebody who's not a Hollywood actress, notwithstanding my very short stint in that cartoon, Bircham.
This case isn't just about Blake versus Justin anymore. It's about what happens when women turn on each other to protect power. And that's the real tragedy. Women already face enough in the workplace. They deal with gatekeeping, mean girl office politics, being sabotaged by their own colleagues. And Blake just reinforced all of it. She showed the world that women will protect their own interests before they protect each other. That even in an industry that pretends to support female empowerment, women will still throw each other under the bus if it means clinging to power.
Okay, but I'm just saying, this person is not an honest broker. I believe her less than ever. I actually disbelieve her fully now.
And let's not ignore the psychological damage this does. For women who have actually been abused, this case is a nightmare. Because now, they don't just have to fear that men won't believe them. They have to fear that other women won't either. Blake proved that women can't even trust their own gender to do the right thing.
Are you going to sue Blake Lively too?
Into oblivion, Megyn. Wait till you see this lawsuit.
Oh boy.
What happened to female empowerment? What happened to holding each other accountable? Since when did feminism mean protecting women who abuse the system instead of calling them out? Blake used feminism like a shield, hiding behind it while she destroyed a man's career, manipulated the media, and turned women against each other. And the worst part? She doesn't even care. Because while real victims are now struggling even harder to be believed, Blake is probably sitting somewhere, sipping champagne, convinced she won.
And then she continued. You know, she took that stiletto and stuck it in his heart when he was down there self-flagellating, being so sorry for anything having to do with his testosterone.
And Ryan Reynolds wants the world to believe he's some feminist icon. Yet, when his wife accused Justin Baldoni of harassment, what did he do? Did he take legal action? No. Did he encourage an actual HR complaint? Nope. Instead, he berated Justin in front of senior production staff so aggressively that witnesses felt guilty for not stepping in. That's right. Full-grown executives, people with actual power, stood there watching Ryan humiliate Justin and later admitted they felt awful for not defending him. But don't worry, it gets worse.
Blake Lively will be sued. And we're carefully considering other people that will be sued also. And some of
Ryan
them will
Reynolds?
come as a surprise. Ryan Reynolds, for sure.
Oh, wow.
Behind Justin's back, Ryan Reynolds rewrote scenes of the movie without permission. Even Sony, a multi-billion-dollar studio that has seen every kind of Hollywood scandal, was shocked. Imagine spending years crafting a film, only for some A-list actor with an ego the size of Manhattan to come in and start rearranging your work like a toddler with a crayon. And the kicker? Ryan allegedly pressured executives into choosing Blake's edit of the movie, despite the fact that Justin's version scored higher in test screenings. Translation? Justin made the better movie, but Blake threw a tantrum, and Ryan used his Hollywood muscle to bully it into existence anyway.
I guess he's in some small thing I never saw, but she's saying, F with me and we'll crush you. My dragons and I, the biggest movie star, one of them in the planet, the biggest pop star in the planet, and I will hurt you unless I get my way.
And then, the Deadpool moment. Oh, because of course Ryan Reynolds wasn't done being insufferable. Instead of treating his wife's trauma like a serious issue, he put a joke about Justin into Deadpool, a scene where Deadpool mocks a character for being an anti-toxic masculinity guy, making a dig about how he just had a baby, in a way that was way too specific to be a coincidence.
What Ryan Reynolds, has seemingly done, right, is used his power and influence to not only help Blake Lively take over this movie, but, he's used it, on Deadpool and to make fun of Justin Baldoni.
So let's get this straight. Ryan supposedly believes his wife was sexually harassed by Justin Baldoni, yet he turns around and turns it into a punchline in his most successful franchise. Megyn Kelly called it out, and rightfully so. Because a real husband, a real man who actually believes his wife was victimized, doesn't mock the situation in a movie. He takes action, he files complaints, he demands legal consequences. But Ryan, he made a joke about it.
Ryan Reynolds was so abusive, I think he would say, I was standing up for my wife who'd been sexually harassed by this guy and so on. But what role did he have in all of this?
Why? Because even he knows Blake's allegations are flimsy. And instead of facing that reality, he just used his platform to smear Justin further. This isn't just humiliating for Justin Baldoni. It's humiliating for every single woman who has fought to be believed. Because what Ryan Reynolds just did, it's the equivalent of every office bro who hears about a harassment case and immediately turns it into locker room gossip. He trivialized it. He turned it into a joke. And that teaches other men that harassment allegations aren't serious. They're just PR stunts.
What I make of that is that if your wife is sexually harassed, you don't make fun of Justin Baldoni. You don't make fun of the situation. You take it very seriously. You file HR complaints. You raise the issue.
And that right there is the real damage. Because now, every workplace, every legal system, every company that already doubts women when they speak up has yet another reason to do so. They'll see this case, see how the entire narrative fell apart, and say, oh, women make this stuff up all the time.
Her allegations have fallen apart, and her "I was not really a bully, I was just targeted" allegations have fallen apart. And now he's going full Johnny Depp on her to show that she was the bully. She was the one harassing him.
Megyn Kelly has said it before, and she's saying it again. This sets women back. If allegations become a game, the people who actually need justice won't get it. Blake Lively didn't want justice. She didn't want accountability. She wanted power, and she got it by manipulating the same system that real victims desperately need.
Was Justin didn't harass Blake. Blake was interested in wresting control of this movie away from Justin, who was the director and the producer. She was just an actress in it.
Let's look at the facts. Blake claimed Justin crossed boundaries, but her own messages show she initiated contact. She invited him to private spaces. She was physically affectionate. She was comfortable. But the second Justin challenged her control over the film, suddenly, she wasn't comfortable anymore. She didn't just make up lies. She used them to get her way. She wanted creative control over "it ends with us." And when Justin refused to roll over, she pulled the ultimate power move. She framed him as an abuser. She knew exactly what she was doing. The media has always been eager to take down men at the first sign of misconduct. And Blake used that knowledge to rewrite the story.
And so that's what happens to you, right? Then you run into somebody who seems like a witch who will take advantage of you and hurt you until finally even that kind of a guy rises up. Now, he didn't do it himself exactly.
And her PR team, they made sure the media played along. Megyn Kelly and Candace Owens both pointed it out. When this story first broke, all of the headlines leaned Blake's way. Why? Because the narrative had already been set. Before Justin even had a chance to defend himself, Blake had her team planting stories, making sure that her version dominated the conversation. And now, the damage is done. Because when women abuse the system stops working for the women who actually need it.
I defend Justin Baldoni in this lawsuit with Blake Lively because I think she's horrible and she's made up this whole thing because she tried to steal his movie.
Women have fought for decades to get legal protections for survivors. But courts don't operate on feelings. They operate on precedent. And if more women like Blake come along, using fabricated claims to win Hollywood power struggles, the legal system will stop believing real victims. Megyn Kelly said it best. If Blake lied, she didn't just betray Justin. She betrayed every woman who ever spoke the truth. And guess what? The courts saw through it. By February 3rd, Blake Lively's case was falling apart. The evidence wasn't adding up. The witnesses weren't backing her. And suddenly, her lawyers were scrambling. They tried to add new plaintiffs because clearly they didn't have enough to begin with.
Full of evidence, admissions, documents, which prove exactly what she did and how she bullied her way through the process to take over the movie and used her PR people to try and destroy Justin.
But here's where it gets interesting. Jenny Slate, one of Blake's Hollywood cheerleaders, was allegedly asked to join the lawsuit, and she refused. Which means one of two things. Either she never had a case to begin with, or she realized Blake was lying and didn't want to sink with the ship. And then, the judge delivered the final blow. He denied Blake's request for a delay. Let's be clear, when judges start refusing extensions, it's because they've had enough. The excuses weren't convincing. The evidence wasn't strong. Blake's entire legal strategy was just buying time and hoping something would stick.
Rises up. Now, he didn't do it himself exactly. He hired a badass named Brian Friedman. And he has badass women like me defending him. But slowly but surely, I think the male class is learning down on the floor, squirming and apologizing for being a man is not the way.
And Megyn Kelly has been hammering this point. If women abuse the legal system for personal gain, actual victims will suffer. This isn't just about Blake Lively. It's about what happens when the legal system starts treating all cases with suspicion because of one woman's lies. Women have fought for decades to have workplace protections, HR policies, legal pathways for justice. But if high-profile cases like this repeatedly fall apart, courts will become more skeptical, and real victims will struggle even more to get the justice they deserve.
And by the way, good luck to Blake Lively in getting hired again, because all of her diva antics are coming out and the way she behaves behind the scenes. And now this with the lawsuit and the New York Times thing, because she's now filed against him as well. So it's a terrible move by her and them PR-wise.
Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and countless other women in media have seen this play out before. It always starts the same way. A high-profile woman makes a shocking allegation. The media jumps on it. The accused is demonized before any evidence comes out. But when the case collapses, the entire movement takes a hit. And the women who actually need justice, they're the ones left to suffer. Blake Lively thought the world would believe every crocodile tear, every dramatic monologue about feeling unsafe, and every PR-crafted sob story. But guess what? The internet doesn't buy BS anymore. Women everywhere saw through her lies, and the numbers don't lie either. Blake Lively has lost 397,000 followers. Her husband, Hollywood's resident nice guy, Ryan Reynolds, he lost 398,000 followers. That's nearly 800,000 people collectively walking away from this delusional duo, wiping their hands clean of the mess they created. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni, the man they tried to destroy, has gained over 206,000 followers in the same time period. That's 206,000 people choosing truth over staged victimhood.
For Blake and Ryan, in terms of people following them, look at these metrics of their followers. This is Blake Lively, okay? That tells us there at the bottom that over the last 30 days, she has lost 397,000 subscribers, okay? That is not a small amount. If you similarly go over to Ryan Reynolds, he's lost almost the same amount, 1,000 more than her, 398,000 subscribers.
This isn't just about numbers. This is public rejection. This is what happens when women, who have spent years fighting for their credibility, see another woman abuse the system for power and control. Blake's fake feminist sob story might have worked 10 years ago when the media could still dictate public perception. But we live in a time where truth spreads too fast for PR spin to keep up. People have receipts, they have archived posts, leaked texts, video evidence, and now? The very same women who were supposed to rally behind her are turning against her. Women don't like being manipulated. They don't like being used as pawns in another rich, privileged celebrity's game of power. And Blake's biggest mistake? Thinking women would be too dumb to notice. Even her own allies are jumping ship. Colleen Hoover, who at first backed Blake, deleted all traces of her. No more posts, no more support, nothing. The same Colleen Hoover who publicly thanked Blake for her honesty and kindness is now scrubbing her Instagram like she just realized she backed the wrong horse.
Colleen Hoover just reactivated her Instagram account, and she has apparently deleted all of the photos with Blake Lively.
Megyn Kelly has been saying it from the start. This case is a disaster for women, because now, anytime a woman genuinely comes forward with a story of harassment or abuse, there will always be doubt. Blake Lively handed every misogynist, every bad faith skeptic, and every corrupt corporation the perfect excuse to ignore real victims. She turned workplace misconduct allegations into a Hollywood power play. And now, every woman fighting for justice has to work twice as hard to be taken seriously.
Proof is overwhelming, and she has, you could say, established her brand as someone who is anti-abuse. I think it's really important to now stake a horse in this race and say, I obviously was completely manipulated, and maybe rightfully manipulated, and we could agree and say, okay, well, if Blake came to her after love bombing her and said, I've been abused, maybe Colleen actually did just legitimately believe her and did something that wasn't being motivated by anything other than belief, right?
This was never just a celebrity feud. This was never just some petty Hollywood drama. This is about trust, justice, and the future of female credibility. Women have fought too hard, for too long, to have their voices heard. And for what? So that a rich, entitled actress could waltz into the conversation, abuse the system for her own gain, and leave real survivors to clean up the mess? Blake Lively thought she could manipulate the media, control the narrative, and weaponize the movement women have built. Instead, she just proved why we need to be smarter about who we believe. Megyn Kelly has been hammering this point home. We need to support real survivors, but we also need to demand accountability. If we let rich, powerful women like Blake Lively hijack the system for their own personal gain, we weaken it for every woman who actually needs it. Because the truth is, justice isn't about blindly supporting any woman who cries foul. It's about standing up for the truth, no matter how inconvenient it might be. Blake Lively wasn't a victim, she was a manipulator. And now, as her career, reputation, and credibility burn to the ground, she has no one to blame but herself. And now, it's time for you to speak up. Comment below. Do you think Blake's case hurts women? Should women be held accountable for false allegations? Are you Team Truth or Team PR manipulation? Because this conversation isn't over. And if there's one thing we've learned from this mess, it's that women aren't falling for it anymore. Blake played the game better than anyone, but now the whole world sees her for what she is. And women everywhere, they're the ones paying the price. Subscribe for more breakdowns, hit the like button, and drop your thoughts in the comments, because this conversation isn't over.